Mumbai's monsoon floods are infamous. In 2005, the city saw a staggering 926 mm of rainfall in just one day, submerging 22% of Mumbai's area. At the heart of this problem is the Mithi River, once a sweet water stream, but now largely a toxic drain, clogged with waste and encroached by informal settlements and real estate projects. So, why is cleaning the Mithi so challenging? And what does its fate tell us about governance in Mumbai? Today we have with us an urban policy expert, Professor Yash Rathi, and Kshitij Lohi, a PhD student whose thesis is focused on the Mumbai's Mithi River. So, Professor Rathi, can you tell us about the history of Mithi River and how it got to this state?
Sure. Historically, Mithi was a natural river system that connected wetlands and the local communities. But over time, after both colonial and post colonial developments, the course of the river was reshaped dramatically. The wetlands were drained and dams were rebuilt to meet Mumbai's growing population water needs. Later, huge projects like the Bandra Kurla complex in the 1970s or the airport expansion in the 2000s took over Mithi's floodplains. These projects narrowed the river and increased the risk of flooding. Instead of being taken care of, the Mithi slowly became a drain carrying storm water and sewage and solid waste. And this shift had to be the harshest impact on the people living closest to it, often the poor people living in the slums.
And what about the informal settlements along the river? Kshitij, from your research, how do government policies affect these communities, especially when big projects like BKC are involved?
The settlements along the eastern banks includes parts of Dharavi that are home to more than 1.5 million people. These residents they live in polluted water with constant flooding risk and with very limited support that too. When government launches cleanup drives, they focus more on evicting these communities. Sometimes they relocate them to places that are environmentally fragile or poorly connected. Meanwhile, the big formal projects like the BKC, which also violate sewage and environmental norms, they face fewer consequences, and this reveals a clear bias. The developmental interests get flexibility while the marginalized groups bear the burden.
That really brings politics into the picture. Professor, can you explain the different institutions involved and how national regulations have shaped riverbank development? What was promised and what actually happened?
See, various institutions oversee different parts of the Mithi River, including the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, MMRDA, the Mumbai International Airport Limited, and others. The Coastal Regulation Zone CRZN notifications and a River Regulation Act prohibited construction near riverbanks, but these were diluted or ignored, particularly to facilitate real estate projects. The Mithi River Development and Protection Authority was formed but had very few and less powers, uh, mostly symbolic. Promises of river cleanup and flood mitigation often clash with actual land reclamation and selective eviction of the poor.
So, Kshitij, from what you have studied, how does this situation shape broader urban policy and governance in Mumbai? And what could be the ideal steps to address these challenges?
Yes, you see, the Mithi is like a mirror. It reflects how Mumbai manages its environmental issues. The different departments they operate in silos, and environmental protection often gets separated from developmental decisions. A better approach, in my opinion, would be to focus on integrated and transparent governance, one that treats environmental justice as a central and not optional. That means holding all actors accountable and not just informal settlers. Long term solutions can include proper sewage treatment and better waste management, safeguarding wetlands, and involving the local communities in planning. We need to move away from quick technocratic fixes and towards rebuilding trust and resilience.
Yeah, so lastly, Professor, this scenario seems to embody two conflicting attitudes urban pessimism about Mumbai's persistent problems and triumphalism about its development achievements. So, how do you see this duality?
That's a good observation. The governance of the Mithi River clearly shows this contradiction. Mumbai is promoted as a world class city with projects like BKZ representing its growth and success. But the reality also includes flooding, displacement, and environmental damages that hits the poorer section of the community of our society more. Combining honest criticism with hopeful ideas for better governance can help create politics that will actually tackle inequality and work towards real stability.
Thanks to Professor Rathi and Kshitij for unpacking Mumbai's Mithi River crisis and governance complexities. The story of this rival reminds us that urban challenges reflect governance choices and the need to balance development with equity and ecological care.